Boundless Webinar Series. I'm Carlota Ramos. I'm the marketing manager at Boundless, and I'm very excited about today's webinar session, as not only this is the last webinar that we're organizing before the summer break, but also because we're going to talk about one of my favorite topics, which is Guest WiFi and captive portals. Indeed, Sydney Barks, who's Boundless CTO and co-founder, will be showing us today how you can easily level up your Guest WiFi management with the Boundless Platform and the Meraki dashboard APIs. If you have any questions around today's topic, please feel free to write us a message through the YouTube channel or through the Click Meeting panel, and we will get back to you as soon as possible. Also, at the end of the webinar, you'll be redirected to a link where, if you want, you can schedule a customized demo, a demo meeting with one of our experts. So let's kick off the event. Sydney?
Okay, thank you, Carlota. So hi again, and welcome to the 4th episode of our Boundless Webinar Series. This is a series of 30-minute speed sessions where we show you how you can use the Boundless digital platform to accelerate your Cisco Meraki network infrastructure management by using Meraki APIs. Today, we're going to focus on the deployment of captive portals, and these are also known as hotspots. We'll show you how you can easily do this on a massive scale in just a few minutes and without having to fight with complex configurations or have specialized knowledge. So to introduce myself once again before we start, my name is Sydney, and I'm the founder and CTO of Boundless Digital. And for 7 years now, we've been working with over 200 Cisco Meraki customers and partners to help them deploy tens of thousands of Wi-Fi hotspots and captive portals worldwide. We've also developed many customized scripts using the Cisco Meraki APIs, and we've helped IT teams speed up their work and reduce the manual errors they face and shorten their downtimes. So within the next 20 minutes, we'll dive into the captive portal solution that Boundless has created, which helps you manage guest access on a Wi-Fi or corporate network. First, we'll go over a few generalities of the current state of captive portals and describe what the next generation of captive portal management looks like. And then we'll have a 3-minute quick start session where you'll see exactly how you can use the Boundless platform with Meraki's API integration so that you can quickly deploy a captive portal to hundreds or thousands of networks in only a few minutes. After that, we'll do a deep dive into the features that we offer on the Boundless platform so that you can see how you can find a network authentication solution that exactly fits your needs. And in this deep dive, we'll look at the visual page builder, which lets you easily create custom splash pages. So an important part of managing a network is determining who has authorization to use the network and access the internet. And this is especially important when it comes to Wi-Fi networks because you can't easily limit who can see and access the network due to the fact that Wi-Fi signals propagate everywhere. And if you don't have some kind of authentication system in place, then anyone can show up, connect, and use your network resources however they like. Having your network be open to everyone can be dangerous because of the potential for network abuse and security breaches. So most organizations implement some kind of authentication solution so that they can allow network access in a controlled way. Now, network authentication can take on many forms. You can lock down access by having a fixed list of device MAC addresses, which is the most secure route. However, it's also a bit restrictive because it requires you to know in advance every device that should connect to its network. And adding and removing devices means a round trip to your IT team to communicate MAC addresses, and that can take a lot of time. A simpler approach that we see often with Wi-Fi networks is using WPA encryption, where there's a primary shared key and a single shared password that all devices agree to use. Now, while shared passwords give you a pretty tight security, and they work well at a small scale, once you get to larger scale deployments, shared passwords become cumbersome and difficult to manage. For example, you can't really control who has access to the password, so that if it's ever leaked to undesired parties, then you might never know about it. And if you decide to change the password one day, You also have to go and synchronize and update the password on all client devices using the network in order for them to maintain connectivity. And this makes using shared passwords for network authentication quite painful on a larger scale. Now, a nice middle ground is the captive portal solution. The captive portal lets your users authenticate to the network, and once they're connected, you can individually authenticate users one by one, having varying strengths of authentication mechanisms depending on your situation. And thus, you don't need to know in advance what devices can access the network, and it's much easier to centrally control this access policy. Authentication methods via captive portal can range from simple self-registration and declaration by the user to more open environments, all the way to having some complex registration that uses phone number verification and one-on-one sponsor verification. And this might be useful for more secure corporate environments. This flexibility lets you maintain network security and yet adjust the restrictiveness according to your specific needs. Because of this advantage, you can now find captive portals all over the place, in any environment. Some of the places you might see them are in hotels, restaurants, airports, but they can also be used to manage network access in corporate or enterprise environments, as well as for large-scale conventions or events. Since captive portals interact directly with your end users, you can customize the captive portal with your company's branding and visual identity. And this gives a customized experience to your visitors when they connect to your network. Now, the captive portal sounds like a great solution for managing network access in a flexible way, but like anything, there are some drawbacks to the way captive portals are handled today. The biggest obstacle is the complexity of implementation. In order to create and deploy a captive portal from scratch, you need a mix of skill sets. It takes an expertise in network administration so that you can know how to manage the connection flow and implement the configuration. And it also takes experience with your particular infrastructure hardware so that you can properly apply the configurations. You also need expertise in web design and development because captive portals are fundamentally just web pages. Once you've built the captive portal, you also need to bring in skills around infrastructure management and security so that you can make sure that it stays highly available on your network for your users and provide security to your network for your organization. Next comes the complexity for deployment. A captive portal can be very time-consuming to deploy if you have many networks to deploy it to. There might often be dozens of pages of configuration parameters to set up in order to get it working correctly. And one small mistake means that it might not work at all. Additionally, some captive portal solutions require on-premise hardware, which demands extra costs and labor for deployment and management. Finally, some solutions might not even be compatible with your networking architecture, and they might need to place undesired restrictions on the flow of your network traffic. So even if you get your captive portal deployed, you have the question of how to manage it properly. Historically, captive portals have been very difficult to manage and customize without having specialized web development expertise. And most portal providers don't give you the tools to customize the portals exactly the way you need. Additionally, you have very limited visibility as far as who is using the portal and what data gets collected. If other business units, such as marketing departments, need to access this information, they have to first pass through the IT department to get it, and that might not always be convenient or possible. Finally, most portal solutions, especially those included with the vendor hardware, offer you very, very limited functionality. For example, if you need to integrate social network logins or SMS authentication or more complex authentication flows, many times that's simply just out of the question unless you build your own solution. Well, here at Boundless, we've looked at all of these restrictions and we've reimagined the captive portal. We've developed a platform which simplifies portal management by eliminating all of the complexity that we've just talked about. The Boundless Platform is cloud-based, so that means there's no infrastructure or controllers to install or maintain, and it's guaranteed to be compatible with your network architecture, no matter how complex it is. Because it's cloud-based, you're also guaranteed to have high availability out of the box, and that means that you lower the risk of downtime for your network. We've created a simplified interface that smooths over the steps which require complex technical knowledge, so that even someone without any technical knowledge or expertise can create, deploy, and manage portals for thousands of networks. Additionally, we offer you vendor agnostic compatibility. So whether you're using one or multiple hardware vendors for your infrastructure, you can have the same simplified portal management interface for all of them. We've also given you tools to help you monitor portal usage so you can see who's using your network and how they're using it. Because we've reimagined this from the ground up, we're able to offer you a functionality that you won't find anywhere else in one place. This includes multiple authentication mechanisms such as social login, SMS, and managing of quality of service settings, content filtering, and security options for your network. And we even support new offers such as Wi-Fi for EU and are compliant with all of the EU log retention legislation. Additionally, if you're using one of our compatible vendor APIs, such as Cisco Meraki, we let you automate the deployment of the captive portal so that you can deploy portals to thousands of networks within just a few minutes. And this eliminates the trial and error process that you would normally need to spend, and all of the time it would normally take you messing around with pages of configuration documentation. So let's take a quick view of this API integration that we've done with the Cisco Meraki platform, and we'll see how you can deploy portals quite quickly. So the first step when you join the Boundless platform is to create a new organization. And the new organization is similar to the organizations that you create on Meraki. So here we enter our organization name and we select our region where we like to store our data. And then once we click connect, Boundless needs to synchronize all the data from Meraki to the Boundless platform. So we can simply click on Quick Setup, which lets us use the Meraki API to implement the synchronization. And here we just need to enter our Meraki API key, and then we can register to the Meraki API. We provide documentation which shows you how to find that API key if you don't know. And then once we enter the key, we can see a list of all the Meraki organizations we have access to. So we select the Boundless Digital Organization as our demo organization, and we import the data. And right now it's synchronizing all of the data from our Meraki organization into Boundless. This includes venues, devices, tags, and other information that we need for the captive portal. And you can see a summary of all the information that was imported right here. Now, once we have connected to the Meraki API in this step here, our next step is to set up the captive portal. So I'll show you that quickly. So now we've just connected to the Meraki API, and we can use the API to configure the captive portal. And this replaces the steps that would normally take about 15 to 20 pages of documentation for configuration, and would usually be quite error-prone. You simply click on Setup Wi-Fi, and then once you click on Setup Wi-Fi, what we do is we show you a list of all of the templates and networks in your organization. Here you can select a network or template you'd like to deploy the SSID to, and you can use an existing SSID or create a new one. And once you create the SSID, it's configured and pushed to the Meraki organization in real time. After that, you click deploy, and we show you a list of all the steps that we'll take on the Meraki organization. And that means configuring the walled garden, radius servers, splash pages, and the syslog server so that we can capture the logs. Once you click deploy, it goes through and communicates with the Meraki API. And at this point, all of your configuration steps on the Meraki side are finished. You have nothing left to do. So here we now need to create a splash page, and we can open up the visual splash page builder, which gives you quite a few usable defaults. You can use different login methods such as forms or social networks, which we'll see. And you can also change the background pretty simply and do things to customize the splash page, such as changing the logo. You can add a logo from a URL or a logo from your files that you have available on your computer. So now we have customized the logo, customized the background, decided to change a few form field orders, and we can see all the different authentication mechanisms that we'll go into as well. Now, once we publish the page, the next step is for us to associate the page with the network where we like the page to run on. So we create a campaign, and we specify the redirection URL, which is the static URL where the users will be redirected once they're connected. And at this point, we're finished. Your splash page has just been created and deployed, and is now live on your Meraki network. So the advantage here is you've just seen how within a few minutes, you can go from 0 to having a full Meraki integration with Boundless, create a splash page, and deploy it to one or more SSIDs without any specialized knowledge. And you're sure that since it's done through the API, it's done correctly, and you don't have to worry about facing any errors. So we've just shown you that. Now let's take a deep dive into the Boundless platform so that you can see in details about what goes on under the hood and get a better idea of how you can use it to manage your captive portals. Okay, so we will start by looking at the captive portal splash page builder. And the splash page builder gives you a simple visual way to create splash pages that are highly customized to your use cases. By default, we give you a splash page that caters to most of the use cases that we've come across. And that means that you can have a form that lets your users input certain names and authenticate with their names, email addresses, and phone numbers. If you decide that there's a field that you don't like, you can easily delete it or change the order of certain fields if you find that's appropriate. We also allow you to log in using social networks. So we have support for authentication via Google, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, and email. And we also have support for SAML authentication. So if you have backends such as certain identity providers or other SAML backends, we can offer that as support as well. We'll get into some of the other authentication mechanisms shortly. But additionally, you see that you can easily customize your page as well. So for example, I can easily change the logo by picking a logo and going into my media library, where I can have a list of all of my media files that I might have uploaded. So I can change the logo, or I can upload new files from a dashboard or from a URL. I can also easily change my background by picking a solid color, or by using an image that I might want to upload. Additionally, a lot of times it's important to have the terms and conditions available for usage on your page. And we give you a section where you can easily customize the terms and conditions here by going into the Terms menu and editing the content. So you can paste your own customized terms for your network here in this place. The next thing to note is that we have international support built in out of the box for translations. And that means by default, we provide a few default translations where all of the content is translated into your user's native language. But you can also add languages that we have from our list, and we have support for over 60 languages right now. So if you would like to have a page customized for users in this language, we can support that. Additionally, the pages are mobile responsive by default. So that means that you can take each page and test it on a particular device and see exactly how it'll look. And you can see previews for the pages as they'll appear on tablets or on mobile devices. Now, once you've created your splash page, the next question that you might have is how can you manage the session or the configuration authentication settings? And we have support for quite a few authentication mechanisms. The first is for guest registration, and you see that you can customize the session duration time, so how long the user stays connected. And you can also determine when is the Wi-Fi network available. So you can customize ranges of times where users can authenticate to the captive portal. And if you have breaks in that time period, you can have multiple time ranges. So for example, if you'd like to take a break for lunch where you turn the captive portal off, that's also possible. On certain vendors, you can also control bandwidth limitations, such as limiting the bandwidth for downloads and uploads for particular users. Another use case that we have available is sponsored access. And this is useful for a corporate environment. This caters to the case where you have certain people in the company who can authorize internet access, and you would just add those users either by the email or by the company domain. And then once a guest comes to your company, they will request access from the particular sponsor, and the sponsor will validate their access with an email they'll receive. The guest will then receive their credentials, a special code that they can use to connect to Wi-Fi, and you can send this code by email or by SMS. We also have a use case for tickets, and the ticket is an interesting case where if you have someone who works at a welcome desk and they would like to hand out Wi-Fi access credentials manually. They can have a special account where they can log in, gather the names and information from the visitor, such as name, phone number, email, and they can generate a password that they'll give to the user to connect to Wi-Fi. You can customize how strong this password is, and you can also customize what the time duration for this ticket is available. So it can be available all day and valid all day for a certain set of dates, or valid for a customized schedule that you defined. And you can also send this ticket confirmation by email or by SMS to the user. Now, if you have an event where you have a lot of people, let's say hundreds or thousands of people, you might still want to secure your Wi-Fi access, but it might not be feasible to give out tickets manually. So for this case, we've created the voucher system. And you can create a large number of vouchers, such as hundreds or thousands, for a particular organization or network. So here we just create a batch of vouchers, and then we can see that we can have the same options, meaning how long is the voucher valid for, how many devices can use the voucher, what's the password strength and when is it valid, and also for which dates the voucher should be valid. And that means if you have a specialized event, which is limited in time, you don't have to worry about managing Wi-Fi access beyond those time frames. Now, the next thing that we'll look at is the redirection step. We've seen initially how when someone connects to your captive portal, you have the option to redirect them to a specialized URL. We've taken that idea and expanded it so that you can even have customizable redirections, which are conditioned based on the user. What I mean by that is the following. If you want everyone to go to the same place, you can use a static redirection URL, and everyone would go to google.com, for example, once they're connected. However, we can also redirect people based on their authentication mechanism. So for example, if someone signs in with Facebook or LinkedIn or Google, we can redirect them to our company's Facebook page or LinkedIn page. And this can help us build on our marketing efforts by using Wi-Fi to send people towards our social networks. Another use case we have support for is that many times companies might have a mobile application and they might not know how to distribute that mobile application to their customers. What we've set up is a way that you can redirect customers and visitors to a mobile application based on their device type. So if someone signs into Wi-Fi using an Apple or an Android phone, you can add the URL for the Apple or Android App Store and redirect the customer to the application directly in the App Store based on the device. So this is a way you can accelerate the deployment and distribution of a mobile application by using Wi-Fi. Now finally, we've added an expanded set of visitor metrics so you can simply see who is connected to your network, both in aggregation and in detailed. Now this means that you can have an aggregation of how many emails were collected or contact points with information were connected, how many total connections you have, with which connection mechanisms, what operating systems were used, and which types of devices were used. And as we go forward in time, we'll be expanding the metrics section to add more and more metrics. You can additionally see a listing of all the visitors who connected and retrieve all of the data that was associated with the visitors. Now, this can be technical information, such as IP addresses, session durations, MAC addresses, but it also might be demographic or marketing information, such as information that was recovered through the splash page form, or if the user has used a social network, you can recover the social network information that they've agreed to share with you. So if they've agreed to share their Facebook name and email, then you can observe this information here on the platform. Okay, so that brings us close to the end. We additionally have a few other parts, such as user and permission management. So you can create specialized users and give them access to this dashboard. And you can also control which permissions they have, so that using our role-based access control system. So that if you would like to have users that don't have access to everything, that's a possibility using the Boundless platform. Okay, so that is it for our deep dive session. And that wraps up our presentation for today for the Boundless Digital Captive Portal Management Platform. Now, just to give you a summary, we have looked at the Boundless platform for managing captive portals, and we've shown you how you can deploy Wi-Fi captive portals to thousands of sites within only a few minutes with no specialized skills. And we've shown you how you can use the Boundless platform to create customized splash pages and authentication mechanisms for your guest Wi-Fi. So that wraps up everything for today, and back to you, Carlota.
Sure, yeah. So really cool, Sydney. It's an awesome platform what we have a Boundless guest, and actually this webinar has even gotten more exciting, sorry, because we have shown you in exclusivity what will be the new Boundless platform, which will be released in the upcoming weeks. So you can look forward for it. So yeah, that will be it for today. Just a last reminder before we close. Feel free to book a meeting with one of our experts anytime to get a customized demo of Boundless Guest or any other Boundless solution. You can do so by either, well, you will get redirected after the event to a dedicated page, but you can also visit our website, which is www.boundlessdigital.com, or you can contact us at contact@boundlessdigital.com. You can also register for any future Boundless events from our website. And as I said at the beginning of the event, this will be the last webinar series before the summer break. So we hope to see you back from September onwards. Thank you, everyone, for attending this meeting. Thank you, Sydney.
Thank you.
For the presentation. And yeah, see you soon.